Hey everybody, this is a clip from the latest episode of the Randi Rhodes Show.
Mary had a little man.
The fall. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
That is why I am taking immediate presidential action to stop the violence and restore security and safety in America. I am mobilizing all available federal resources, civilian and military, to stop the rioting and looting, to end the destruction and arson, and to protect the rights of law-abiding Americans, including your Second Amendment rights.
What?
Therefore, the following measures are going into effect immediately. First, we are ending the riots and lawlessness that has spread throughout our country. We will end it now. Today, I have strongly recommended to every governor to deploy the National Guard in sufficient numbers that we dominate the streets. Mayors and governors must establish an overwhelming law enforcement presence until the violence has been quelled. If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
Oh, for Pete's sake. Again, you have a president who loves to threaten to use power he doesn't have. Did everybody, I know everybody saw that last night. That was just the craziest thing I ever heard come from the mouth of a U.S. president in my life. Here's your choice, okay? That or this.
The moment has come for our nation to deal with systemic racism, to deal with the growing economic inequity that exists in our nation, to deal with the denial of the promise of this nation made to so many. You know, I've said from the outset of this election that we're in the battle for the soul of this nation. And we are in the battle for the soul of this nation. What we believe, and maybe most importantly, who we want to be, it's all at stake. That's truer today than it's ever been, at least in my lifetime. And it's this urgency, it's in this urgency we can find a path forward. Now, the history of this nation teaches us that in some of our darkest moments of despair, we've made some of our greatest progress, some of our darkest moments. The 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments followed the Civil War. The greatest economic growth in world history grew out of the Great Depression. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 65 came in the tracks of Bull Connor's vicious dogs. To paraphrase Reverend Barber, it's the morning where we find hope. It's in the morning where we find hope when we mourn.
So there are your choices, everybody. After Donald Trump threatened to use the military police actually were deployed in D.C. because D.C. is a territory, not a state. No governor had to say yes to Donald Trump's ridiculous offer, right? So here's what happened across the street from the White House last night.
Within the last 15 minutes, mounted police have been coming down the street. You're going to see them in the frame now, using flashbangs in front of them and mounted police to clear what has been an entirely peaceful protest. Not 98%, not 99%, but 100% peaceful protest here today. People throwing, there was no throwing of water bottles, there was no throwing of objects, but a short time ago, mounted police officers have been clearing the street. Tony, if you could pan to the right, I want to show the military police. I want to show the military police on the side of the street. Over the last half hour, We've had military police. We've had Secret Service officers. We've had park police. And now we've had National Guardsmen lining the fence. They've been stepping up closer and closer and closer over the last few minutes. You can see them lining the fence. Just a short time ago, we heard them firing those pepper balls into the crowd here as they've been trying to disperse people. You can see these officers aiming at the protesters who are here in the park as we're being cleared back along the sidewalk here in front of 8th Street. Again, from where I stood, I could see absolutely nothing. Hang on a second here. Ma'am, are you all right?
No, she's not all right, man.
I got hit bad.
All right. I had to pull the mic there, but you could hear her say she got hit bad. Look, Ari, obviously this is an incredibly volatile situation here, and we're going to try to keep our distance from it as best we can. But this is by far the largest law enforcement presence I've seen in this park in the last 3 days, and by far the most aggressive action I've seen by law enforcement in this park in the last 3 days.
I ask every American, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I ask every American, look at where we are now and think anew. Is this who we are? Is this who we want to be? Is this what we want to pass on to our children and our grandchildren? Fear, anger, finger pointing, rather than the pursuit of happiness, incompetence and anxiety, self-absorption, selfishness? Or do we want to be the America we know we can be? The America we know in our hearts we could be and should be. Look, I look at the presidency as a very big job, and nobody will get it right every time. And I won't either. But I promise you this, I won't traffic in fear and division. I won't fan the flames of hate. I'll seek to heal the racial wounds that have long plagued our country, not use them for political gain. I'll do my job and I will take responsibility. I won't blame others. I'll never forget. I will never forget. I promise you, this job is not about me. It's about you. It's about us. And I work not only to rebuild the nation, but to build it better than it was. We're the only nation in the world that goes through crisis and comes out better.
So that was right on point. It's exactly what needed to be done. It's what leadership sounds like. It's what healing a nation requires. It's tough to stand there and say, we're in pain. It's tough to stand there and say the moment has come. The moment has come to work on the institutional racism that has caused this kind of pain and anguish and poverty and health disparities and the whole lot of it. That's the tough work. That's the hard work. But Donald Trump literally created a riot with military police, National Guard, and horseback troops in Washington for a photo op last night for himself. For himself. He literally stood in the White House, on the White House lawn, and said that he was going to command the military to attack Americans that he doesn't like, and then cleared the street by force, citing the Second Amendment, totally trashing the First Amendment that requires, the ability to peaceably assemble, which is what was going on in Lafayette Square, a peaceable assembly to air their grievances, and then went to an historic church that serves the community, didn't pray, didn't go in, and held a Bible as if it were a Trump stake or a Trump tie, upside down and backwards, and said nothing and moved on. That was the biggest WTF moment I think I've ever had in my life.